Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. You get fairy dust. I get fairy dust. Amelie gets fairy dust. It's time for number 5, Harry Potter and the Psychological Arts. And we are on page 3. How have I made 5 videos about 3 pages? Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about right now is the experience of Mr. Dursley when he started noticing weird shit going on because everybody was celebrating, people in robes and a cat staring at the street sign. It looked like it was reading the street sign. This reminds me of the call to adventure. Of course, Mr. Dudley is incapable of such. And it also reminds me of the symbolic life. So let's talk about that for a second. The call to adventure is the first thing that happens in a hero's journey. You can just Google hero's journey and you'll see that there are a specific number of things that happen in a certain order for a hero's journey. And this book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and all the other books have so many different heroes' journeys. So many characters go on a hero's journey in this book, and I will be talking about it throughout all the series. But right now, Mr. Dursley is seeing shenanigans, like he's seeing weird things that are happening, and every single time he sees one, he basically kind of shakes his head and is like, no, this can't it can't be that. And then he overhears somebody saying Harry's name, Harry Potter. And then he's like, was that my wife's sister's name? Or Potter? And what was that son called? Harold or something? And he's hearing all of this, but all of the things that he's doing is trying to push it back down into denial. And you could say that he is not answering the hero's call. You know, he's not answering the call to adventure. He is constantly and will constantly, oh, he sure does, when those letters start coming, he is bending. He is trying to bend life to his will. He does not want any part of a magical life. He does not want a call to adventure. In fact, he would consider a call to adventure to be rubbish or bullshit or something silly people do or stupid people do, weird people do, people that aren't normal do that. And so, but we do this too. We do it too a little bit every day to some extent. You know, all the things that we want to start. I want to start exercising. I want to start doing this. I want to start doing that. And then we just watch ourselves not do it. Like we are ignoring the call to adventure. We're ignoring a call to push for personal growth. We're also really good at denying, trying to make sense of, being very critical of the symbolic life and the symbols and synchronicities that happen in our life. People who are, just need their lives to seem and look normal and make all kinds of sense is for me missing out on a very powerful and important part of my life, because advanced bitches live a symbolic life. And if I see a bunch of owls flying in the day, you best believe that I'm gonna think, what is this about? How does this fit in? What does this mean to me? What is this a message about? Like, I want to decode the symbols. I want to understand, and it just makes my life richer. I'm not even talking about woo-woo. I'm not. Let's say somebody has no beliefs in any kind of power greater than ourselves. Well, already that's dumb because, I mean, it's not dumb, but like a tree is a power greater than me. I can't grow a tree, you know, great trees grow. You know, but I'm not saying like, oh, you know, it's a higher power or whatever, or God did that or whatever. We can still live a symbolic life if we are a full-on atheist. We can still live a symbolic life, and we do it to enrich ourselves. We do it to enrich our lives, to enrich our stories, to enrich our life experience, to get to me, I could not live fully without living a symbolic life. And so that's why you see me with a lot of symbols. That's why I do sand play therapy as a therapist. There's all kind of miniatures in my office, which are symbols, because that's what the psyche speaks. And so I would miss out on a whole part of life, my deep, rich inner life, my deep, rich psychological life, my psyche, the depths of my psyche. To me, I would be denying myself a kind of intelligence. And so he's not taking any of these messages. He is, again, trying to force himself to, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to be reminded. Like, I don't want to know these things are happening. And that's denial. And it's also that striving to not accept the reality of what's actually happening. So that's what that reminded me of. The other thing I want to say is just a few pages new is, I mean, a few pages past this, is the first time we hear about Voldemort. And we are automatically introduced to a couple of things about that. One is that people will not speak the name, and that when the name is spoken, they shudder. And for me, my healing, in my therapy, in my personal growth, in my healing, it has been extremely important for me to name things. I must name them, and I must speak them so that I don't become a prisoner of that. You could say, now I understand that, previous to this, the things that were happening in this world before this celebration day, people who said that name would actually experience a negative consequence. And so people learned not to say it, and that was a very fine and helpful thing. And you can see how the PTSD lasts through the entire series of saying that name. And so, but for me, naming things, and it's weird because a lot of people talk about stop labeling, conservative or liberal, old, young, whatever, like just labeling things. But for me, for me to name something, I'm not going to stay attached to the label, but I must label it in order to not be attached to it. Because if I don't know that what I have is trauma, when I went into therapy, I was just trying to stop having an eating disorder. Like I wasn't looking for something else, because I knew that sticking my head in a toilet all day long was not normal. And my work, my call to adventure started when my first child was born, my daughter. And I was like, oh fuck, I have to break a cycle. And again, knowing that this was what I did, overeat and purge, I knew that I needed to break the cycle. But I really wanted I thought if the breaking the cycle was just stop using, but it never worked, because I was a chronic relapser. I couldn't do it. So it wasn't until I truly began to work on my trauma, which I didn't even know I had trauma. I didn't even know that was a thing, really. or it was something other people had, but not me. So when I also had to manage the food stuff. So I still had to learn about it. I still had to go to meetings, and I still had to, like, continue to do the work to heal that. But my true healing, the thing that has brought me happiness and joy and freedom from my eating disorder and self-understanding, self-worth, self-love, self-care, has been through me doing my trauma work. And me understanding it is the first thing. Awareness has to be the first thing, and understanding of it. And I'm not going to be able to understand it until I name it. I have been, before I found Pete Walker's work on codependency and the fawn response, you can just Google that, codependency, fawn response. I was working on that already. I knew that was part of me. And what I called it, me and my therapist called it Santa Clausing. Yes, Santa Clausing. And so I was the world's Santa Claus. Like, whatever you want, whatever's on your list, you're gonna get it. You just tell me, or let me figure it out, because I am also really, really smart and intuitive. I can figure that shit out. Let me, like, blow your socks off. Let me save your fucking day, And Santa Clausing. And I have so many embarrassing, horrifying thoughts of shit I did through Santa Clausing, and it was not pretty. I've given so much away. Spent so much money. Anyway, but it was really, really an important day, the day that I saw that in therapy and could name it. That's something different than all my other shit. That Santa Clausing, and it turned out to be, that's my core issue, right? And so, but I had to name it. I had to name it. These days, I think about that. I think about, for me, Santa Clausing and fawning is the same thing. But I think about it, but I'm not always like, that's fawning, that's fawning, that's fawning. I had to learn the name. I had to understand it. I had to accept it. And for me, it's truly like playing an instrument. I've seen, several different kinds of quotes like this about, you have to practice. You have to practice the guitar. You have to practice the piano. You learn the scales. You learn the rules. You learn how to read music. You learn all the shit. Like, you learn it. And then when it's time to play as an artist, you forget it all and you just play. That's how it is for me. I need to understand it. I need to learn it. I need to understand the symbolism of it. I need to understand the meaning of it for myself and how I participated. I need to understand and to label it. I need to watch it in my own behavior. And then I just revel in the healing. I just, the equivalent of me playing that instrument, because the bars live in me, the scales live in me, the music, it lives in me, and now I can just play. It just comes out. I don't have to, again, like driving a car. Like, you're not thinking, hand on this, push this button, this, where are the windshield wipers? No, we just play the car. Like, we go, we don't even think about a car. Like, we don't even think about our car. We're just, moving without having to think. And so that's what it is for me. But I'm saying I have to label it first. And that is why Dumbledore says, say the name, because he's probably, which I never thought about this, but he's trying to also engender healing from the collective PTSD that everyone had about that name and what would happen to you, what the stakes were for saying it. So, this book is everything to me. I hope that you're enjoying it as much as I am. And I love you, and I'll see you next time. Love you. Bye. Wands at the ready. Boop, boop. Oh, you know what I need to start saying? Take your wand out and hit the subscribe button. You can also hit the bell if you want to, so you'll know exactly when these come out. And thank you so much for being here. Love you. Bye.